Imagine the world as a giant orchestra, recently thrown into chaos by the drumbeat of tariffs and trade barriers. The era of America First disrupted global harmony, rattling markets and supply chains worldwide. Today, August 12, 2025, the United States Supreme Court has delivered a decision that changes the tune. The cacophony of tariffs is being silenced, not by negotiation, but by a legal ruling that strikes at the foundation of the trade wars. This is more than a minor adjustment. It's a potential overture to a new era of global commerce. The decision reverberates from Washington, D.C. to Shanghai, Berlin, and Sao Paulo. For years, the global economy contorted to adapt to tariffs. Now, the rulebook is being rewritten. This moment tests the resilience of globalization and reminds us how interconnected our world truly is. The symphony is about to begin a new movement, and the world has a front-row seat. To understand today's decision, we must rewind to the Trump-era tariffs and the America First doctrine. The belief, free trade hollowed out U.S. manufacturing, so tariffs would protect jobs and punish unfair practices. In 2018, the administration imposed steep tariffs on steel and aluminum, citing national security, hitting not just China, but allies like Canada and the EU. Retaliation was swift, and a tit-for-tat trade war with China soon followed, disrupting global supply chains and raising costs for businesses and consumers. These tariffs were sudden, sweeping, and created intense uncertainty. Farmers lost export markets, manufacturers faced soaring costs, and the global economy reeled. Legal challenges quickly emerged, arguing the administration had overstepped its authority. Congress, not the president, controls tariffs. The use of national security as justification was widely seen as a pretext for protectionism. Years of legal battles followed, culminating in the Supreme Court case that set the stage for today's historic ruling. The long legal journey has finally reached its climax. Today, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that the broad use of tariffs under Section 232 and 301 was an overreach of executive authority. The majority opinion stated that imposing such sweeping tariffs is a legislative act, one that belongs to Congress. The court found the national security justification for tariffs on allies was overly broad and lacked credibility. The decision resets the rules. Future administrations face a much higher bar for using these provisions. The immediate effect, the legal authority to collect these tariffs is gone, and the Treasury must stop collecting duties on affected goods. Unwinding years of regulations will be complex, and companies may seek refunds for billions paid in tariffs. The ruling does not eliminate all tariffs or prevent Congress from passing new ones, nor does it resolve trade disputes with China. Instead, it shifts major trade policy decisions back to Congress, ending the era of executive-driven trade wars. The implications are profound for the U.S. and global economy. The Supreme Court's decision is a stone dropped in a pond. Its ripples will touch every part of the economy. The most immediate impact: prices. With tariffs gone, costs for goods and materials should fall, easing inflation for consumers and businesses. American manufacturers relying on imports will see relief, but industries once protected by tariffs, like steel and aluminum, now face global competition. Globally, exports to the U.S. will surge, stimulating economies abroad and normalizing supply chains twisted by years of trade friction. Some companies may reconsider expensive moves made solely to avoid tariffs. However, not all supply chains will revert. Investments and new relationships have been forged. The sudden influx of cheaper imports could pressure domestic producers, risking job losses in some sectors. Managing this transition is key. The economic ripples offer both opportunity and risk. The world economy now plays by a new set of rules. The challenge is to ensure the benefits of lower costs reach consumers, not just corporate profits. The transition will be uneven, but the potential for growth is immense. The next chapter of global commerce begins now. The Supreme Court's ruling reshuffles the political chessboard at home and abroad. Internationally, it signals to allies that the era of unilateral tariffs is over, opening the door to repair strained relationships. Domestically, the debate returns to Congress, where free trade advocates and protectionists will clash over the future of U.S. trade policy. The decision strikes at the heart of the America First legacy, reframing it as constitutional overreach. It energizes opponents of executive power and infuriates supporters who saw tariffs as vital protection. The ruling will be a major talking point in future elections, highlighting deep divisions over America's role in the global economy. The US-China relationship remains unresolved. The Supreme Court simply removed one tool from the table. The political chess game has new rules, and the stakes are higher than ever. For many families, the most tangible effect will be in their wallets. Tariffs acted as a hidden tax, and their removal should ease household budgets. Buying a refrigerator, a laptop, or building materials may now cost less, offering relief from inflation. But in communities built around steel, aluminum, or manufacturing, the loss of tariffs brings fear and uncertainty. For them, tariffs were a lifeline, a promise to protect jobs from foreign competition. The sudden change may reignite anxieties about factory closures and job losses. This ruling forces a national conversation. Are we a nation of makers or innovators and service providers? The social impact will be a story of two Americas, one celebrating openness, the other fearing abandonment. The challenge is to bridge this divide and ensure the benefits of free trade are shared by all. To understand the impact, we turn to the experts. Dr. Ananya Sharma of the Peterson Institute calls this the most significant trade policy course correction in a century, restoring predictability to U.S. trade. Michael Sturgis, representing protected industries, warns the decision threatens American jobs and reopens the floodgates to subsidized imports. He urges Congress to legislate new, smarter tariffs. Professor David Chen of Yale Law School emphasizes the constitutional angle. This was about restoring the balance of power between Congress and the president. The court reaffirmed that broad-based tariffs are a legislative, not executive power. A Council on Foreign Relations strategist sees a diplomatic opening. The U.S. can now rebuild alliances and address China's economic challenges with partners. The tariffs alienated allies. Now, the U.S. can work with a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. The big question: does Washington have the will to seize this moment? The expert consensus: the decision is complex, with no easy answers. With tariffs dismantled, the U.S. stands at a crossroads. There's no going back to the pre-2018 world. The new focus is resilience, not just efficiency. Companies will balance global sourcing with security, adopting nearshoring and friendshoring. Policymakers must help exposed industries adapt, not by new tariffs, but through investment in technology, retraining, and innovation. The challenge is to ensure lower import costs benefit consumers, not just corporations. Internationally, the U.S. must re-engage with allies and modernize global trade rules, especially on digital trade and state subsidies. Building coalitions is now essential. The era of going it alone is over. The public must move beyond the free trade versus protectionism debate and ask smarter questions about how trade can benefit all Americans. The Supreme Court's decision cleared the path. Now it's up to the people and their representatives to chart the course. The journey is just beginning. We began with a global orchestra thrown into chaos by tariffs. Today, the Supreme Court has called for a new beginning. This moment reaffirms our interconnected world and the importance of the rule of law in economic policy. The trade wars were a costly experiment that strained alliances and deepened divisions. The court's decision reminds us that checks and balances are essential for stability and prosperity. The road ahead will be challenging, but it's an opportunity to innovate, collaborate, and repair relationships. The world is listening as the old song fades and a new movement begins. Is this the dawn of global cooperation, or just a pause in economic nationalism? The orchestra is ready. Let's see what music we create together.